When the old coal mine outside of town reopened after being closed for nearly a century, it brought a sense of renewed hope to our struggling community. The mining company promised jobs and prosperity again. Sure, there were the old superstitions about the mine being cursed, but I dismissed those as silly legends. I should have known better than to disregard the warnings from those who came before us. As a safety inspector for the mining company, it was my job to examine the structural integrity of the tunnels and caverns, making sure everything met regulations before miners began work. They sent me down weeks ahead of the rest of the crew to conduct my surveys alone in the ancient shafts. The first time I descended into the earth, the temperature dropped noticeably, like I had entered some subterranean crypt. My flashlight cast jittery shadows across the walls, ribbed with stratified layers of black coal. The minecart tracks underfoot groaned and settled with my steps, making me wince as the noise reverberated down the endless tunnels. But so far, my inspection showed no major areas of concern. That initial assessment gave me false confidence. On my second trip down, I caught fleeting movements in the periphery of my vision. When I spun around quickly, flashlight in hand, nothing was there. I laughed at my own paranoia, chalking it up to playing tricks in the dark. The hollow echoes of dripping water confirmed I was alone. However, I started noticing ancient graffiti scrawled on the walls of the deeper tunnels. Strange symbols and cryptic warnings in an unknown language. They spoke of something evil lurking beneath that should never be awoken. I considered bringing them to my supervisor's attention, but I knew he'd dismiss it as the ramblings of an ancient and superstitious people. No point causing unnecessary worry, I reasoned. But I felt that worry creeping into my own mind. One day, my light illuminated a massive iron door recessed into a carved-out section of rock off of one of the main tunnels. It was chained and locked, with more of the bizarre graffiti slashing across it. Dark stains that may have been blood streaked down from the seams. I understood then why the locals regarded this place as cursed. There were some things that should remain buried and forgotten. Of course, the mining executives I reported to saw things differently. When I told my supervisor about the mysterious door and inscription, he was intrigued rather than troubled. "It's most likely where they stored extra equipment and supplies," he dismissively assured me. "We'll check it out once the full crew is down here." I prayed they would lose interest and stay focused on mining coal, not pandering to morbid curiosities. But when mining operations commenced a few weeks later, the door became a top priority. One shift during a lunch break, I joined the gathered crowd of miners as a foreman broke the chains and unsealed the lock. The burning light bulbs strung up around the portal faltered slightly when he pulled the massive creaking door open. Fascinating architecture, my supervisor marveled beside me. He shined his own light excitedly into the newly exposed cavern beyond, which appeared much larger and elaborately carved compared to the other tunnels. "Let's have a team start cataloging whatever artifacts might still remain inside," he ordered the foreman eagerly. I wanted to scream for them to stop, but I held my tongue. There was no sense being the lone dissenting voice of reason. Over the next few days, I avoided going anywhere near that ominous doorway, gaping open down in the dark. But the disturbing incidents around the mine became harder to ignore. Whispers echoed through the shafts from unseen sources. Equipment failures increased, causing frustrating delays. Miners reported sensation of invisible eyes watching them. But production quotas had to be met, so work continued until the first disappearance. One night shift, a minecart operator went to inspect a malfunctioning track switch, but never returned. Eventually, we formed a search party, calling his name down miles of lightless tunnels. All we discovered was his discarded helmet and glove by the toll at a T intersection. There, one tunnel forked off into unfamiliar caverns we hadn't mapped yet. The foreman assumed the miner got disoriented and wandered deeper into the maze. But I knew that wasn't true. Not when I noticed more of the odd symbols hastily scraped into the coal near where we found his things, as if in warning. More miners vanished in the following days under similar circumstances. Mass resignations and desertion ensued, not that I could blame the men. I considered joining the exodus myself, but felt compelled to remain behind in some vain attempt to understand what sinister force had awakened down there. Of course, the executives refused to acknowledge the supernatural overtones, blaming the incidents on gas leaks and accidents. Until the night, something escaped the mine itself. I was doing paperwork alone in the main office when the emergency sirens began blaring out from the lift shaft. Grabbing a flashlight, I sprinted towards the mine entrance as panicked miners streamed out, their helmet lights bobbing wildly in the dark. From below, gunshots echoed up from the tunnels, then faint screams rapidly silenced. When I saw the demonic entity emerge from that gateway, my legs turned to jelly. An amalgam of decayed flesh, jagged coal, and deepest shadow ascended the shaft, red eyes smoldering. The scent of sulfur choked the air around me as I stood paralyzed. Of course, what else but a devil from the depths could we have freed? The survivors and I fled for town as the creatures spewed forth a rain of hellfire, igniting the cold, dust-filled shafts. The passing decades have not quelled the ravenous inferno consuming that cursed mine. I alone remember what really awoke down there, what ancient warning we arrogantly ignored. But knowledge cannot undo my mistake. The portal I helped unseal continues disgorging its abominations upon our world. Nothing I say can redeem me for the part I played in unleashing the full horror upon us. I can only hope death claims me before the smoldering darkness spreads to envelope all else.